This is the terrifying story of the man who ate shadows. In a village in the mountains of northern Thailand, people started disappearing at night. They would vanish without a trace, leaving behind their homes, their families, and their jobs. It was always in complete darkness that these things happened. The only clue as to what could be happening were the witness' descriptions of the one who is responsible. A tall, thin man with no face who seemed to devour the shadows of those he consumed. What was this creature? Where did it come from? And how can we stop it? To answer these questions, we have to go back 30 years to when something terrible happened during a ritual. Something that cursed the village and doomed it to an endless night. It all started when a young woman named Noi had a disturbing nightmare. She dreamt of a shadowy figure reaching out for her, trying to pull her into the darkness. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. And then she woke up. For a while, Nai enjoyed the comfort of her bed and the warmth of her family. But her nightmare continued to haunt her. It felt real, too real, and so she decided to do something about it. She went to see a shaman, an old woman who lived on the edge of the village and was rumored to have powers beyond this world. The shaman told her that she was being targeted by a malevolent spirit that fed on human shadows. The only way to escape its grasp, the shaman said, was to perform a ritual, a dangerous and forbidden ritual that involved summoning the spirit and trapping it in a cage made of bamboo and ironwood. But even the shaman didn't want to do this alone. So she called upon 3 other shamans from neighboring villages. Together, they gathered around a bonfire, chanting incantations that shook the very foundations of the earth. As the night wore on, the fire grew brighter and brighter until it blazed with an otherworldly light. And then from the flames, the spirit emerged. It was everything the shamans had feared and more. A towering figure made of pure darkness. It reached out with long skeletal fingers and dragged one of the shamans into the night. The others screamed and ran, but it was too late. The spirit had won. Only one remained, the one who would become known as the Shadow Eater. Driven by fear and desperation, she slammed the cage down on the spirit just as it lunged for her. And then it happened. The spirit was trapped, or so she thought, because what followed was unlike anything she could have imagined. The cage began to glow, not with the spirit's power, but with her own. It grew hotter and hotter until it was red hot, and the metal was twisting and warping. In a panic, she ran, stumbling through the forest as the sound of crashing metal echoed behind her. She ran until she collapsed, until she couldn't run anymore. When she finally looked back, the cage was gone, as was the spirit. But something had changed. The forest was darker than it had ever been before, and the trees seemed to be watching her with malevolent glee. And that's where the story stayed, hidden away for decades until now. Because here are some things that you probably have questions about, like, how did the spirit get free? Well, it didn't. It was never free. It was bound to the shaman who summoned it, and it used her as its vessel. That's why people started disappearing. That's why the witnesses saw a faceless man eating shadows. Because that wasn't the spirit consuming the shadows. It was the shaman's body, her human shell. The spirit would use her as a host, possessing her and using her form to hunt down those who had wronged her. Why does it only happen at night? Well, spirits are said to be the strongest at night, and this one was no exception. It allowed the shaman to survive the ritual, but at what cost? Her entire life became a curse, doomed to wander the night and hunt down those who had wronged her. But what about the man who ate shadows? Well, that's just what the villagers called him. They didn't actually see his face. But the most compelling question is, if this is true, why are there no photos? Surely someone has managed to snap a photo of the spirit, right? Wrong. Every camera malfunctions around it. The spirit somehow bends light and shadows around it, hiding its form from all but the most determined of eyes. Oh, and one more thing, the story doesn't end there. The spirit didn't just take one life, it took 2. Because as it possessed the shaman, it also pulled her brother into the darkness, screaming as his shadow stretched and twisted into an unnatural length. He became another victim of the night, another soul lost to the darkness. And so the curse continues. And if the story is true, then somewhere out there in the dark, a spirit wanders, forever hungry, forever lost, forever damned.